He believes that cooperation in sectors such as healthcare as well as cultural exchanges between the two countries are mutually beneficial. He envisions a bright and sustainable future for the Belt and Road Initiative. He is looking forward to attending the upcoming summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. President Wavel Ramkalawan sat down in an exclusive interview with Leaders Talk. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Leaders Talk, where we meet leaders, thinkers, and trailblazers. I'm Zhou Yun. We're now in the beautiful island nation known as the Pearl of the Indian Ocean, Seychelles. And here at the State House, we'll be speaking to our guest, President Wavel Ramkalawan. With the Belt and Road Initiative progressing, what future cooperation does he foresee? What are his expectations for the upcoming Forum on China-Africa Cooperation? And what is his vision on building high-level China-Africa community with a shared future? Let's find all these answers in today's conversation with him. Good morning, Mr. President. Great to have you with us on Leaders Talk.
Thank you very much for having me on your program, and welcome to the Seychelles.
Let's start with something meaningful for both of our countries, because the Chinese naval hospital ship Peace Ark was here last week, and you have personally met with the commanders, and that ship provided various medical services to local people and treated over 4,000 people in about a week's time. And apart from the ship, the Chinese medical team has been continuously sending medical services in the past 4 decades. So how do you understand its significance?
Seychelles and China, it's a long-standing relationship. But the visit of the peace ship bringing medical assistance was warmly welcomed, and of course it's a ship that is well equipped. It's bigger than our main hospital. We are very grateful for the services rendered to our people. And indeed, a lot of people took the opportunity either to get a second opinion or to be diagnosed, and also some of them even underwent surgical operations. Mm-hmm. So please, if you can have a word in there, tell them to come back on their way to China, and we will welcome them with open arms. But as you rightly said, we also have cooperation with Chinese specialists at the main hospital. Mm-hmm. We've had this cooperation over a number of years, nearly
39 years this year, actually.
Yes, and we appreciate the help that we get. So all in all, we welcome the very good cooperation between our two nations, and it is set to continue.
The Republic of Seychelles is an archipelago located in the Indian Ocean, east of Africa, comprising 115 islands of various sizes, with Victoria as its capital. Known for its picturesque scenery and rich biodiversity, Seychelles is often referred to as a tourist paradise. The economy of Seychelles is primarily based on tourism, fishing, and to a lesser extent, handicrafts. Tourism is the country's main economic pillar, generating over 70% of its GDP. Fishing is another key sector, with seafood being the country's leading export. Since the establishment of diplomatic relations on June 30, 1976, the relationship between China and Seychelles has developed smoothly.
The cultural exchanges and understanding has been greatly enhanced in the past decades, with more Seychelles students studying China, and the Confucius Institute providing Chinese language training, and the Seychelles China Day has been successfully held for 14 years now, and we heard was warmly welcomed by local people as well. So how do you understand the importance of enhancing people-to-people exchanges, as well as this cultural aspiration between the people of both countries?
It's the only way to make good relations survive and be able to sustain them. It's only people to people. Cultural and sports activities bring the people together. Friends are created. Tourism is one way also where we get to meet each other. Way back in the 1900s, a lot of Chinese came to Seychelles and they established themselves.
Yes.
So it's been, it's two cultures that have, the two cultures have really merged. The features are slightly different, but the ancestral connection remains. My wife, for example, has a Chinese grandfather, and the mother is of another race, and so we've got all those mixtures. And now our children really have everything from Africa to Asia to Europe. So it's a real mixture.
Well, Mr. President, as you mentioned that actually your wife has Chinese ancestry. So how has this very special bond with China impact your understanding and appreciation of the Chinese history, Chinese culture?
My wife just returned from China. And I can tell you, when she visited China, two of my sons said, "Mom, I want to come with you."
They fight about going.
Yes, and two of them accompanied her. So this is just to give you an indication of how a lot of Seychellois would like to visit China. My surname is Ramkalawan, an Indian surname. So sometimes when people look at me and they say, "How can you have an Indian surname?" My great-grandfather was from India. My grandmother and her ancestors were from Europe. And on my father's side, there was the African side. So all this has been the melting pot. Similar, you will find people with the same features with a Chinese surname. And you will also realize that the first president of independent Seychelles was of Chinese origin. In fact, in Victoria, you will realize we have a monument, that it's good for you to see that monument, which depicts three birds landing in Seychelles. I mean, their beaks are in the ground. And that monument depicts the main continents from which the people of Seychelles have emerged, and that is Africa, Asia, and Europe. So Seychelles, when we talk about the melting pot of cultures, Seychelles is indeed a melting pot, and this is what Seychelles is all about.
Well, President Ramkalawan, speaking of tourism, actually this is our very first time to be here in Seychelles, even though we won't have the time to travel due to work commitment. But we still were amazed by the breathtaking views along the way, the turquoise waters, the white beaches. And yesterday when I was eating bread along the streets, there are actually birds who are trying to grab my food. And in 2013, both countries signed an agreement on mutual visa exemption. Taking this opportunity, would you paint a vivid picture for our Chinese viewers, Chinese tourists, about some of the unique experiences that are waiting for them here in Seychelles?
I would say to a Chinese tourist that coming to Seychelles is a unique experience. One, you are coming to islands lost in the middle of the ocean. The sea is the dominant factor. Beautiful beaches, the scenery, it's green everywhere. We put a lot of emphasis on protecting the environment. And the boulders, the only group of granitic islands in the world, because of our history, the geographical history. I know the Chinese like fish. Seychelles is the place that produces the best fish in the world. When you are here in Seychelles, as far as food is concerned, as far as the people are concerned. So it's an experience in itself, and the best place for young Chinese to come for their honeymoon I remember when I visited China for the first time and went to the Great Wall. I could see that a lot of newlywed couples had padlocks with their names on it.
Yes.
So maybe as we develop our tourism, we can invite those young couple newlyweds to come to Seychelles for their honeymoon.
And put a lock here.
And yes, put the lock here and ensure that their marriage lasts forever.
Seychelles is often recognized the richest country in Africa in terms of GDP per capita. But you have highlighted the country's economy is over-reliant on tourism sector, especially when major challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic occur, which has dragged the economy on its knee. So, Mr. President, how do you see balancing the need of maintaining a vibrant and sustainable tourism sector while pursuing greater economic resilience and diversification?
I like this question, and in fact, this question will also allow me to bring in the friendship between China and Seychelles.
How is it?
You see, depending on tourism, just like many other island states, is very difficult because tourism and the size of the country makes it that you cannot develop big industries. We do not have the land, we do not have the manpower. So what Seychelles has achieved in the development of tourism and also to attain the high economic band has been through a lot of sacrifice and also a lot of good planning. But, as you rightly said, the pandemic wiped everything out. But given that Seychelles is considered a high-income country, has made it that with the West, we cannot have access to concessional financing. They say, sorry, we cannot give you grants because you are high income. Whereas, having China as a friend, China assesses the needs that we put forward. And on that basis, we get the help from China. So this is why I said I would bring in China, because the assistance that we get from China is not based on our economic position, but based on the friendship.
Seychelles is an important partner for China in Africa and the Western Indian Ocean region. Over the 48 years since the establishment of diplomatic relations, practical cooperation between the two countries has yielded fruitful results, leading to the creation of many projects dedicated to people's livelihood that have contributed to local development.
Well, that is the Lagog Dam. It is one of Seychelles' key livelihood projects built by a Chinese company. The construction of the project involves raising the dam by 6 meters. Well, this change in height increases the reservoir's capacity by about 60%, meeting the water needs of nearly 40% of Seychelles' population. President Ramkalawan has said this project has helped Seychelles way ahead in water supply. What about its changes to the lives of local people and the development of sectors? Let's take a listen about what they have to say.
It comes at a good time in this year, 2023-2024, because what we have seen during dry season, we started to have a lot of water cuts, and this has improved.
This dam is supporting the country water supply nearly at least 10-11 months in a year. It is a very essential project for the country.
Well, Mr. President, I want to show you a photo. So this is when you were at the ceremony that marks the completion of the Lagog Dam. So what do you think the role it is for this renovation project to play in helping the country to improve its long-term water security?
It was indeed an honor for me to for me to be there together with the Chinese ambassador and others to inaugurate this project. And this project has been a very, very important project, and I was proud to be, and we are confident that with proper management, we will be able to supply water to our people at all times.
Well, apart from this dam, there have been other projects working with China here in the Seychelles, for instance, hospitals, schools, and social housing, as you mentioned. These projects are actually all cooperative projects under the Belt and Road Initiative. So how do you see the role of the BRI in helping to enhance the capability of development as well as sustainable growth in this continent?
It's obvious that it is a good initiative, and this is why Seychelles is part of it. And as you rightly say, we have benefited in many areas. But what I want to put emphasis on, which I've already done before, is the fact that it is not based on a superpower like China imposing itself on the smallest country in Africa. It's been based on mutual respect. But what we have realized with China in the relationship has been that we've sat down, we've talked, and so I see the future along the BRI as bright, as sustainable, and as friends working together.
But there have been some concerning voices by some certain number of countries worrying about the potential debt risks and some other challenges that are associated with BRI. What is your response to that?
As the leader of the Seychelles, I'm not worried about that. And as they say in English, if it's working, don't fix it. Well, it's all a question of management. So as far as all the projects are concerned, we ensure that all these various elements are brought on the table, and the proper balance is established. So it's been firmly established. And I would say now is the time for us, as we continue to build on that firm foundation.
The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation is expected to take place in Beijing later this year, and this is a very important platform for China and African countries to come together and draw up plans for development. Mr. President, what are your expectations regarding this upcoming forum?
There are many expectations, and we have the strong bilateral cooperation. If we can seek greater assistance in the health area, in getting more scholarships for our youth, more exchanges between Seychelles and China. If we can open more doors for Seychellois businessmen to start businesses in China, that will be a win-win situation.
It seems that you put lots of emphasis on the needs and the will of the people. And building a Seychelles for all its children is the theme and commitment during your election.
Yeah.
So what kind of country do you want to build for the future generation moving forward?
You are right. This is the slogan under which I won the elections. So this is why I put emphasis on, first of all, reconciliation. We are one people, so let us reconcile. Let us agree to disagree, but let us not fight each other. Let us also ensure that everybody gets a chance. Meritocracy. You look at the needs of the people, and this is what we are doing. So that's the direction I want to see this country move in. And in October it will be 4 years, and everything has been going smoothly.
Well, Mr. President, you have identified climate change as the greatest long-term threat for island countries like Seychelles, and you have described yourself as a fervent environmentalist. So can you share with us some of the policies, actions prioritized in mitigating the impact of climate change and some other pressing environmental issues?
One of the things that we fought for, and very strongly, was for the establishment of the Loss and Damage Fund. And what would this do? This would help us to establish firm projects without us having to deprive our children of much needed finance. Instead of having to remove money from education or health, I'll use these two as examples, in order for us to take care of the coastline, in order to take care of the islands that are facing the threat of disappearance, we would receive the money, and that money would help in these projects. Mm-hmm. We've had the blue bonds, which again have been a source of financing for projects to do with the blue economy. Mm-hmm. So what I want to say is, Seychelles is doing its utmost to protect, first of all, the country itself. Mm-hmm. For example, when we've set the limit at 100% protection of all the mangroves, 100% protection of all the seagrass. This is to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This is us, small Seychelles, playing our role in maintaining the 1.5 degree commitment. So we are keeping to our commitments.
Well, Mr. President, you've previously said, quote unquote, climate change knows no boundaries, mm-hmm. Poverty respects no borders, and the quest for peace requires a collective effort. Mm-hmm. So having said that, what is your understanding of the significance of the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and the Global Civilization Initiative proposed by President Xi?
The proposal of President Xi meets the demands of the world. And I think China, being China, superpower, being a world leader, I think if China can push this agenda forward in everything that it does, then I'm the happiest person.
What is your impression of President Xi as a leader, and how do you understand his vision and political philosophy?
It is obvious that he is a man of vision, that he is a man of reconciliation, that he is a man who is prepared to sit down and discuss. And I believe that he is, because he is the president of China, he is a powerful man.
Well, President Ramkalawan, you've been to China before, and your country has maintained a very close cooperation relations with China for the past decades. What is your understanding of China's path towards modernization, and what are some of the development lessons that are particularly inspiring to your governance?
I also mentioned before, China is a champion as far as the development of technology is concerned. China is sending people to space, and
right.
And the moon is no longer a foreign frontier to China. And so as far as technology is concerned, China is way advanced. But not only as far as technology is concerned, but of course in other areas of development. Anything that the world talks about, China is there, and China is there at the front. And here I must say, mm-hmm. when you look at some of the attitudes of be it the West, be it of industrialized countries, I think China has always been present on the African continent, and other nations are now trying to catch up with what China has been doing, And I just hope that we can understand that and we can respect that a friend in need is a friend indeed. So we will look up to our friends and nobody will tell us what to do.
Mr. President, I also noticed that in addition to some common outdoor activities like snorkeling and hiking, you also has a special fascination about astronomy.
Yes.
So what actually sparked your interest in observing the cosmos?
That's a very interesting question. When I was training in Mauritius, there was a priest who enjoyed astronomy. So one day I was sitting next to him and he pointed out to me the constellation of Scorpio. And of course the brightest star in Scorpio is Antares. And I realized that all these years I had looked at the sky and had seen stars. But for the first time I saw a constellation. So this is where the interest started. I look at the stars and I enjoy the greatness of the cosmos and the beauty of the cosmos.
Mr. President, it was a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much again for having us, and thank you for this very insightful conversation.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed the interview. I'm looking forward to being in Beijing for the summit, and I look forward to seeing the very good relations between China and Seychelles continue to grow.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you. During the interview with President Ramkalawan, there were two keywords that are particularly impressive. The first one is friend. He said that China was one of the earliest friends Seychelles made after its independence, and this enduring friendship is extremely precious. And the second keyword is win-win. In his view, whether it is the cooperation between China and Seychelles or with other African countries, it is guided by the principle of mutual respect, collaboration, and mutual benefits. And this two-way, mutually beneficial win-win approach has driven the continuous advancement of the cooperation. It looks forward to both countries deepening practical cooperation, enhancing the well-being of the peoples, and jointly work to build an even closer China-Africa community with a shared future. With that, I'm going to wrap up this edition of Leaders Talk. I'm Zoe reporting from the Seychelles. Thank you for watching and see you next time.